And driving. Everybody's worried about driving when you're stoned. No. You're not going to hurt anybody going 5 miles an hour. No.
Can comedy, fame, and cannabis activism be all in one person? We know Tommy Chong from his cannabis comedy albums as a part of Cheech Chong and his movies with Cheech Marin, as well as for playing the character Leo on Fox's That 70s Show. Tommy Chong is one of the original cannabis activists who supported the process of legalizing the use of the plant, going down in history as one of the great leaders and voices of the industry. In this edition of Cannabis World Journals, the comedian and activist tells us about his process with medicinal and recreational cannabis.
My name is Maria Jose. I'm the director of the company. We have here a beautiful team that's been working with us for a long time that's built this magazine from the ground up. So why don't you tell them a little bit about the company and the magazine?
Yes. Thank you so much, Maria Jose. Again, thank you so much, Mr. Chong, for taking this interview with us. Here with me, of course, Maria Jose, who you already met. Also is Alibert. We are both content editors for the magazine. To tell you a little bit more about our project, we have been around for a little over a year. Our intention behind the magazine is to show people the different benefits that cannabis has, and we focus we focus on the medicinal aspect of it, the legal aspect, business aspect, and also all the process of the cultivation. And of course, we appreciate these opportunities. Where we get to meet with people who are in the industry and who have been around as yourself for many, many years, since the beginning of the formation of the cannabis culture itself. We are part of a company that's called CH&C, which basically focuses on not only the magazine. We also have another educational aspect where we do classes and certified courses and audiobooks and ebooks, all revolving around the medical cannabis industry. And we are currently publicly traded in the OTC market. And just to give you a little bit of a background. So again, thank you so much for meeting with us.
Thank you.
Have you here.
Yeah, my pleasure. Believe me. Like I said, I love talking to women that aren't giving me a bad time. Because when you're married, you don't get a chance really to talk too much. But yeah, no, I really enjoy. I enjoy this. Yeah, that's what I've been enjoying the lockdown for that reason. Because people can't be. You don't have to go to anybody's office. You don't have to park a car or walk or anyway. You can. You don't even have to wear pants unless you're cold. So I really like this method of communication, as it were. And where are you guys from?
Well, we are from different backgrounds. Anne and me are from Colombia, and we have Albert, which is from Venezuela. We are mostly Latin American based.
The exciting part of South America. Venezuela, and what's the other place?
Colombia.
Oh, Colombia. Yeah, you guys are so famous, man.
Mostly for the wrong things, but we do make a mean-ass coffee.
Hold on. I'm going to take this call for a minute, and I'll be right back. Hold on.
No problem.
Okay, I'm back.
Back. Hi.
Here we go.
Hi.
Are you back too?
Yes, we've never left.
Okay, let me see if I got everything. Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes, perfect.
Yes, we can.
I got to get yours a little louder. Okay, try it now.
Yes.
Can you hear us correctly?
Perfect, I got it. Okay, I'm back.
Thank you. Thank you again. So yes, as Maria Jose was saying, we are most of our team is also based in Latin America. However, the company is American. It's in Texas.
Oh, okay, okay. But you're what part of Texas, if you don't mind me asking?
Houston and
In
Dallas.
Houston.
Yeah,
Houston and Dallas. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're Colombia and Venezuela. Now, what is the status of marijuana or cannabis down in Colombia now?
Yes. So since 2016, 2017, it was legalized and decriminalized the medical use of cannabis.
Yeah.
When it comes to adult use, as long as it's the personal dosage, you're allowed to have it, cultivate it, but it's not legal to commercialize it yet. But we've come a long way since 2017, as we can now be in the legal business of at least medicinal cannabis.
Now, do they include hemp with that, or is hemp separate?
No, hemp is included in the legal market.
Oh, it's included because we just Cheech and Chong, we just came up with a hemp cigarette, which is not only legal, but it's they consider it like medicine. So it's not it escapes the taxes, and it's a legal cigarette that won't harm you. You know, it's made out of hemp, and it has trace amounts of THC, but nothing enough to make it illegal. You know, and we got we're going to have, what do you call those dispensaries, or like a cigarette vending machines, Cheech and Chong vending machines. So that's how legal it's becoming in the States. And I can't see why it wouldn't get into South America really quick too, except you don't want to upset the cartel business, I guess. I guess that's your biggest problem.
No, well, here in the way here in Colombia, for example, we've navigated it. It's because, as you said, that hemp has low levels of THC. Then it's just under the radar, and it's supposed to be one of the new forthcoming industries. I'm surprised that that you're so involved within the industry. You should come and visit Colombia. I mean, we have such an incredible history with cannabis that now we're trying to integrate that whole, not such a nice part of our history of, the illegal part of cannabis that, this is going to be a new chapter for Colombia. So
for sure. For sure. Anyway, it wasn't weed as much as it was cocaine that fired was fired off the illegal trade, cocaine and then heroin or opium, but the marijuana, they lumped everything in there, South America, for sure, and it was all done for political and financial reasons. The America always wanted marijuana to be illegal because that would give them an excuse to attack and to rob people of color and people of Spanish descent. Because it's no accident that they made marijuana illegal, but they made cannabis legal. And it's the same, it's just a different name, but it's the same plant. And so one is a racist name, and they follow that, marijuana. Whenever you hear marijuana, you think of police and cops but when you think of cannabis now, you think of the medical use of it. So we're making great strides, and I would love to come to Colombia because I think our hemp cigarettes are going to allow us to open the door, if nothing else, just to get our friendly Cheech and I's friendly faces, on some product in Colombia,
we've
which
been
would
historically
be
very
great.
good producers of tobacco, so that would be a great investment.
Where is that?
In Colombia, we've been historically great producers of tobacco.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we have a great, well, we're turning the pages, but hemp
yeah.
would be a main source of
A- a-
income.
And you know, the connection with tobacco and hemp was that when the tobacco farms depleted their soil, every other year, I think it was, they would grow a crop of hemp and then plow it into the ground so you would have the proper nutrients, because hemp is even healthier for the planet than tobacco plant is. Isn't that's pretty interesting, I thought.
All right. Well, and go ahead and let's start with the questions that we have. So why
Sure.
don't you give it a go?
Yes, and if at any point, if you want to talk about any subject, the idea of this is it's more of a conversation. So
Gotcha.
thank you. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that key moment where you decided to get into cannabis? I know it's been years, but do you have any defining moment?
I started smoking when I was 17 years old. It was a gift from a jazz musician / club owner who owned a jazz club in Calgary. And he had been in Los Angeles, and he brought back a present for me, which was a Lenny Bruce comedy record and a marijuana cigarette. And of course, I put the cigarette in my pocket right away, and so he lit up his own. And so my first toke was Raymond Ma's jazz club, and changed my life. I heard music really for the first time. When you're high and you hear music, it's like you were born again with some incredible ears, you know. And so on the serious side, though, as soon as I smoked up, I realized I was wasting everybody's time in school, because school was for people that wanted to be there. And because I was shown real early in my life that I wasn't gifted in the mathematics, for sure. That was one of my weak subjects. I never could. To this day, I have a hard time with algebra, and so then I never, algebra was like the stumbling stone for the higher education. But I was perfect fodder for the shovel and pick and shovel gang, the laborers. And so I eventually ended up being a laborer, but also a musician. And that was one of the unwritten laws of being a musician. If you're going to be a musician, you either have to have rich parents or a really understanding girlfriend with her own place, and or a side job that you can do when you're not playing music, which I did right up until I was in my 20s, I guess, until I was actually 20. Because in Calgary, Alberta, you can always get a job. It's that kind of weather that there's, what do you call it? A guy that's unemployed is anybody can get a job in Calgary, practically at any time, because winter, summer, spring, fall, there's always stuff to do, that requires muscle.
Well, I know that you are from Canada, and the story about the coming together of Cheech and Chong is always an amazing story. But it also came in a time where historically there were a lot of things happening in the world, and the contrast between Canada and the United States and the hippie movie that was just starting. Did you get a chance to discuss that type of big schismas that were happening? Because I know Canada was one of the first to legalize it, and you come from a whole different background, but you decided to build your career more in the United States. So how was growing up in Alberta, different from the experience that was coming through with the hippie movement. Did that come over to Canada?
Oh, big time, big time. Canada, by nature, was built on immigrants, and therefore you have a lot of resentment, a lot of racist people in Canada. You take Canada was part of the British Empire, and the British were avowed known racist. They were very involved in the fact of illegal drugs trade, because Britain, when they occupied China at one time, China was under British rule. Indochina was under Dutch rule, and all the Spain and France and all the strong countries, they had the poorer countries, and China was one of the poorer countries until it turned communist with Mao. But so the drug trade really originated in China with the opium, because the British were the ones that brought the opium to China and got a whole generation of Chinese hooked on it, and now it's a death penalty if you're caught dealing any kind of drugs in China itself. Now, the other the other reason they had drugs in America was because of the slaves. They found out that slaves worked better under the influence of cocaine, and so they would give the slaves cocaine, and that was the beginning of the cocaine addiction problem in America. And the heroin or opium was very popular amongst the jazz musicians, as was cannabis. They called it reefer back then, but it was the musicians and name it, probably the black musicians that would spread the drug culture from country to country, from place to place. And it wasn't until lately, that they found the medical uses of cannabis, which, by the way, the Chinese have documented cannabis use thousands of years ago. 5,000 years ago, it was documented. Cannabis was documented by the emperors there as a cure for women problems, with their menstrual cycles, and it was also deemed for cancer, people with various cancers, as they're finding out now, that cannabis does have great cancer fighting attributes. And so the reason it was made illegal was purely racist and political, because
It always has to do with race at some point. And we
it
actually
does,
wanted
yeah.
to talk to you about that, because I've heard a couple of interviews with you and the first movies that you made. You've always stated that you were giving platform for minorities, and you put minorities out there with the songs and with everything you did. Now, given that there is a huge impact right now in the United States with jails just not giving hold of everything that's been happening with the heavy laws that we have right now, what are your views on that?
I'm sorry, what was on the way the state of the
On the way
cannabis?
that American laws are so hard against minorities, and we've come to fill up
Oh
jails
yeah.
and everything, because it's always had more impact on minorities.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Well, see, the minorities were the easy ones to blame problems on. You see, you take any dictators or emperors or kings, they always had to have an enemy to blame their problems on. So they could never take responsibility for their own actions, and that's happened all the wars. I've been studying wars, during this lockdown. Doing especially the Second World War, because I was born during the Second World War, right at the beginning of it. And I've always had that feeling that I was probably killed on the battlefield. And, and I came back and to where I am now, because I'm basically a pacifist, even though I've had Army training. I had Army cadet training. I know how to be a soldier. And if I wanted to be, back when I was younger, if I wanted to join the forces in Canada or in the States too, I could go right straight to officers training corps because I had all my basic training. So I know both sides more or less. I'm a pacifist, but I know how to fight. And I know why. That violence is definitely not the answer to evolution. It's part of the process, for sure. Because you can't build anything unless you tear down the old thing first. And this is what we're going through now. Because what we're doing, we're finding out what the Chinese knew thousands of years ago, that cannabis is a medicine. But you know that the Chinese at the time were some of the most racist nations on earth. Because if you weren't even of royal birth, or if you weren't if you didn't wear the right clothes, you could be murdered. Because they tried, China has been trying its whole existence to unify, because there were so many dialects in China that one couldn't understand the other, and then Mao's, when Mao came into power, they made Mandarin more or less the official language. But until that, then, there was people from one part couldn't understand people from the other part. And so what we're seeing, anything that the poor people, the peasants, by the way, I learned something about peonage. Do you know what peonage means? Peons.
Can't say I do.
Yeah, you know what a peon is? It's a Spanish word.
Oh, peon. You mean?
Yeah.
Like in chess.
A what?
When you play chess, a peon?
No, not a pawn. A peon.
A peon.
Peon.
Well,
but in Spanish, it's like a poor person. But what it meant, what it meant in peonage, it was a way to keep poor people in debt to the landowner, so that he would virtually have a slave. They would have what they call, if you worked for this landowner, you had to buy from his store. And for some reason, your labor would never match how much you owed them in the company store. And this is for food and lodging and all the stuff that you would need in order to be anywhere. And so after America stopped slavery, then they reverted to this peonage, or where everybody became a peon. And that's how they kept the black people slaves for another almost 100 years, because they had them as like sharecroppers working off rent, so-called rent. And basically all they were doing was doing in fact, they were treated better as slaves than they were as free people, because at least as slaves, they didn't owe anybody. But as free people, the white people would make sure that they would be indebted to them. Indentured was the word. Well, anyway, getting around to the marijuana, when the peasants from South America would come into America to find work, they would bring sacks or bags of marijuana or cannabis to use as currency, because a dollar bill isn't going to get you high or feed you, but a bag of weed will get you anything you need. You need food, you got it. You need whatever you need, you can barter with the weed, and so that's how the weed came into the country. And it wasn't just to get high and to, run around in fast cars. It was for medicine. It was for medicine. The peasants always knew, you couldn't afford to go to a drugstore. So you had to have your herbs around you. You had to have the plants, you had to know where you could get the dandelion or the rosemary or the different plants that people used, or the cannabis, you see. And that's why tribes in the back, and even today you have tribes or neighborhoods of people where you have one witch doctor. And the witch doctor was really a naturalist that knew what herbs to use in order to fight whatever disease you got. Now, there's some shysters back then, as there are now, that would lie and say that you could do love potions. I can make a love potion to make a man love you, or that's still going on. That's still going on. But what we found out with cannabis, see, cannabis is such a gift from God that it will grow anywhere for anybody under almost any conditions. And that says a lot for that plant, because anywhere you go in the world, you'll find a version of the cannabis plant. And now we're just realizing, we're waking up, and we're beginning to see the good things that cannabis can do.
Well, you've mentioned a bit of history, and of course, you were part of it too. I mean, you've been around the industry for decades now. You had your run-in with the law a bit too. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience? I mean, how the perception has changed over the years?
Yeah, well, the thing with the law, I've always had a love-hate thing with the law, going all the way back to Vancouver, Canada. Because when I started in Canada, we tried our band, we tried to go legal, with the nightclubs and that. But it wasn't until we found an empty steakhouse in a really nice part of Vancouver, and the owner of the building was a big fan, so he let us have the club rent free for almost 6 months. And in that time, we built up a following, and eventually it was like our cash cow. It was a place where we could play music. The only problem is we couldn't we couldn't afford a liquor license, and so it was a bottle club. But that was cool. We still made a shitload of money, and then instead of drinking, people eventually started just using cannabis. And so that's how far back I go. And the law, the police, they knew what was going on, because in every society, every cop has their informants, people that are undercover. And so they, like in Colombia, anywhere in the world, you always got that those traitors that will turn you in a minute. And so the cops always know what's going on. And the thing is about cannabis, it corrupted a system so bad. It corrupted, and it promoted a racist system, and that still exists to some extent today. At least it's in the open. At least we're seeing for our own eyes the racism. Blatant is very blatant, especially in America. But the good news is that our system of government allowed for it. Our Constitution allowed for what went on. And what we're doing now is the Justice Department is going to step in now. But the reason they're not doing it quickly is because there's no reason to. You see, there's no reason to incarcerate the people that are going to be incarcerated yet. So what you do, as opposed to a lot of governments, you milk it. You just keep all the news is all about the insurrection. And everything that's going on is all about the insurrection, and how bad Trump would be for the country if he ever got reelected. And then they make everybody think that Trump could run again, you know. But the truth is, he's under so many criminal investigations that when the time is right, they're going to get him. The question is for what crime, because he's committed so many crimes. But in the meantime, all of us progressive has got to lighten up and relax and see what's going on. You know, the trouble with America's system is that it dwells so, and the money is so much into bad news. You know, the worse the news, the more people watch. They got to see what's going to happen next. You know, oh no, he could run again. You know, we could lose our democracy. The truth is that insurrection that we saw on TV, that we see every day on TV, was filmed by the people that did it. You know,
The revolution was in fact televised.
yes, it was televised, and now the Justice Department has all the evidence, all the confessions, everything's on tape, and so now it's just a matter of dragging it out long enough so that when we have midterms elections in America, we will elect the intelligent people. You know, we won't elect the Trumpies because they've been outed. Now we know who the criminal is, and we wouldn't vote for him, and we're going to vote for the good people, and that's the way it should be. And eventually, our whole world, including Colombia, Mexico, Venezuela, we're going to be oil free from oil.
Well, the
That's
system always changes, and that's a very interesting thing, because I know within all of your work, there's something that's really curious. That is, the laws have changed today to a point where everything is legal and everything is just so easy to access at this point. But I understand that at some point you were impacted by these laws, and this affected you in somehow within the world of cannabis and everything that you've done. Do you think when criminalization of cannabis impacted you, it made you fight more for legalization, or did it give you a drive in order to change your plans?
no. What it did, see, I learned real early, you don't fight. You see, I'm a musician, you see, and when you play music, that is the epitome of getting along with somebody else, playing music. You have to be so
Right.
sensitive to the other people in the band, and then you have to have the same likes, dislikes, you know, everything. You have to be a cohesive team. uh, and so what happened when I was incarcerated, at first I was amused because I was
Right.
laughing because, you know, they're putting me in jail for a bong, for a water pipe, you know.
And right now, it's just so crazy to think about that someone would be incarcerated for that.
Yeah, have a SWAT team come up to their house and go through the house and go to our factory and literally smash all the
Wow.
bongs they could find, break them as if they were the enemy, you know. And then they had all these lies that were saying that we were making billions of dollars with the bong company and we were giving the money to the terrorists to attack America. You know, the bombing, the planes flying into the World Trade Center, that was all because they were financed by bong companies like the Chong Bong Company. You know, they just went all full Monty with the lies. And so when I went to court, they even sentenced me on 9/11. And then they sentenced me on 9/11, and then they put the trial, the sentencing trial in the large courtroom because they were expecting a big protest thing. And one guy showed up with a cardboard sign and it said "Free Marijuana."
Not
Now,
even you.
I don't know if he was giving away free marijuana or he was thinking like marijuana was being put in jail. but but it was a big failure on the government's part because more than protesting, people were like disgusted. I mean, I was not a vocal critic of anybody. I was just a
No,
comedian.
but you still are a big voice for the cannabis
Oh,
industry. The first couple of movies, I mean, the change in the rhetoric of everything, where the user was not the criminal, but like instead it was the main character, and then we had the police side of it as the criminal and the bad guy of the story. You do have a
sure.
voice, and you have given a voice to cannabis, and that's something
Yep.
that amazes us. That's why we love having you here.
And that's why they put me incarcerated. But they made a big mistake, you see, because like I said, I am such a pacifist, but I'm a militant pacifist. In other words, I have military training. I know what the other side is, I know liars. And oh, by the way, when I went to prison, I took a course in spotting liars because the prison is, everybody in prison is some kind of con man. They lie. They lie. The first night I'm walking the yard and I got one guy on either side of me, and they're out trying to outdo themselves with their lies. And the way he comments is, they knew I was in the recording business, and so they were saying, hey, Tommy, how would you like to own your own recording company? I know a guy, he's got this company and he's looking for some blah, blah, blah. And it's all, and that's what the prison was full of, these guys. And when you first go in there, they attack you because you're new ears, new people. But after I was there for a while, I found the people that I related to, which were very spiritual. And I turned it into a spiritual retreat, to the point where we had a sweat lodge
Well, that's a
and
good
we would,
take on it.
yeah, I would be at the sweat lodge as much as I could. It was in the garden. It faced away from the prison. And it was like a beautiful animal sanctuary. And the animals from the area, we were in the desert, they would come to the Indian sweat lodge because they instinctively knew it was a safe zone where the people aren't going to hurt them, and they could come, and the animals came. We had rabbits, we had snakes, we had all sorts of critters, ground squirrels, and it was almost like a Disney movie. They would come, and the snake would crawl across the yard like. It's cool. It's okay. I don't have to hide. Rabbits would come out at night in the hundreds. It was really freaky because it's a desert, and all of a sudden there's hundreds of jackrabbits on the lawn. And that's why our lawn was really nice and green, because they would fertilize the lawn while they were there. No, the desert where we were incarcerated, and it was a minimum security. It was like for politicians, rich people. It was like country club prison. And so, and because I was old enough, I never had to work unless I wanted to. And then a friend of mine who had a garden growing, in the garden area, he fixed it so I could come down to the garden every day, And so my stay in prison was very well. I'll give you an example. The sky was so big, it was in the desert, so we had a huge sky. And then around dusk, around sunset, skydivers would perform. And then I found out later, they knew that I was in jail, and they knew that I'd be watching them. And so they performed at least 3 or 4 times a week every day, and I got to the point where I had people reminding me, "Hey, it's almost sunset," and then I realized I watched every sunset for 3 months. So that's how spiritual a retreat I turned it into. And of course I read all my books, and I did the I Ching, and I helped other prisoners, and I counseled a lot of people, and I hung out with the guy that was in charge of giving anti-drug talks.
Seminary.
And yeah, I hung up with him because he was an old roadie, and he knew me from from my performing days. And then then the prison itself, they called me in one time and they said, "Listen, our visiting hours, because of you, our visiting staff is being overworked. They're getting too many visitors," because it was like I'm a captive there, so I had visitors coming in that hadn't visited prison for years, and now they're all of a sudden they're there to get an autograph and a picture. And so then the prison, they put a new law. They said I couldn't take pictures with the visitors anymore. And so yeah, it's stuff
It
like that.
really sounds like a very pleasant experience. We're very glad to hear that. And those are
It
amazing
was.
anecdotes.
It was incredible because first thing when I did the I Ching, it said you were in jail for a reason. Jails are corrective institutions where you go to change your behavior. Now that was so on point, because my only behavior was just doing what we're doing now. And so it wasn't me that had to change their behavior. It was the police. But I had to change my attitude toward the police, because I was treating them like they were right, and I was wrong. And it's the other way around. They were wrong and I was right. And so what I did, I never violated any prison rule the whole time I was there. And I got offered a lot of weed, but I turned it all down, because the greatest thing about pot is that you don't need to smoke it. It's not addicting. If you don't feel like smoking it, you don't smoke it. Simple as that.
And it
And
is
I
not
never.
the enemy either. You have repeatedly said the only bad weed is no weed. What do you mean by that?
Well, you got to remember I'm a comedian too,
Right.
and no, the truth is, if someone gives you a joint and say it's really mild, or no matter what they say, the suggestion is very powerful. But if they hand you a joint, by the way, I found a plant in prison. It's called lion's ear. Lion's ear is it's got a purple flower. Lion is something. That's why they call it lion's ear. Anyway, the guy that ran the herbal garden where I got it from, he says, dry off the leaves and smoke them, and you'll get the same effect as you would with cannabis. And so I did. And my goodness, I had dream. I describe it as this way: I had other people's dreams. Instead of having my own dreams, it was like I never saw this movie before. And it was effective, and it put me to sleep. It was really good. Lions.
We do have this, there's a huge amount of medicinal properties to cannabis. Now, I understand that you had a bit of a rough time in which you battled with cancer about 2 times. Did you find that, did you use cannabis during this time? Did you find that it helped you out during the healing process, or at least it soothed the pain of certain treatments?
Well, the cannabis helped in many ways. Now, because I was, being incarcerated for a drug offense, I couldn't. They drug tested me from the time I got arrested to the time I got off probation. I had to go do a drug test, and I had no problem, because I'd quit cannabis before. After I smoked my first joint, And then, then I had that one joint. I never touched it again for years. I think about a year or so went by before we ended up in Vancouver. No, almost 2 years. We ended up in Vancouver, and that's when me and the band started smoking, but we didn't tell each other about it. And intermission come like, oh, there's a piano player, Bernie, and Bernie and I are meeting the same dealer who's selling us a little pinner for $1. $1 would get you a little pinner, and you smoke that, and it would get you through the night, real nice, playing music. So no, I've always loved the cannabis for that part, playing music part.
Mr. Chong, I have a question. Now, you were talking, of course, about your experience in prison, and although I agree completely with everything you say, that your perception wasn't the wrong one, as we've seen in the many years that have passed since that experience, how the industry and our perception as people has changed with regards to the plant. But this is still an issue nowadays, that a lot of people are in prison that do not come, from privileged backgrounds, that are the most affected ones. And of course, there's this particular thing that I still have to wrap my head around it in the United States, whereas even if it's legalized in a state, that doesn't immediately or automatically makes the people who have been imprisoned for it free. That should be something like a pardon, or a presidential or a mayor's pardon. It's very rare, because the rest of the world, international criminal law works exactly like that. If something stops being illegal, you are immediately released and your record is expunged. However, this is not the case in America, and one of the things that we within the industry want is a more inclusive industry, a more, an industry that actually favors those who have seen it so rough, and that have been, that have, just experienced that bad side of it. Do you think this is going to be a reality in the near future, of having a more?
Well, you gotta remember, the American laws were written by racists, by the way, and there was a lot of loopholes that they put in there, where they would say, okay, yeah, cannabis isn't as harmful as we said it was, but to this day, it's still illegal federally. It has been changed on the federal laws. Now there are laws that are ready to be signed, but until they sign those laws, they only have the old laws to work off of. And even though they'll let a guy free for one reason or another, the cannabis prisoners, they're stuck, especially if they're poor and Black. They're stuck.
Which is the case for most.
Yeah, for years. Hey, listen, when I was in Taft, there were, I would say, a good percentage, over 40% for sure, that should not have been in jail. And the only reason they're in jail is for a couple of reasons. Number one, they're private prisons. In other words, these prisons are owned by private companies, and they treat them like hotels. And what they want to do, every prison, you can make a profit if you own them, just by charging the government too much money to house each prisoner in there. Like, it's very expensive to house a prisoner. I think that it's around $50,000 a year, $50,000 a year. Now you take, which is why the marijuana prisoners are not getting out that early, that easy, because the prisons, they don't have the same kind of prisoner to put back in there. The reason they busted marijuana people, that's part of slavery, because they know they're busting innocent people, they're busting talented people, they're busting very peaceful people. And every prison that I've been connected to, or even talked, to different people, it's the marijuana people that are in there for marijuana. They're the ones that actually run the prisons. They're in the front office. They're doing the computer work. They're doing all the taking care of the prisoners, ordering food, ordering the right kind of whatever supplies you need to run a prison, because a prison is like a hotel or a hospital. And so that's one of the reasons they're not going to let anybody out soon, because they never put them in there with a humanitarian streak. It's like the slavery back in the day. All you cared about is that slave going to be healthy? He's not going to die on me, and he's going to be healthy, and he's going to add to my fortune. He's not going to distract from it. And that's the same way as the prison systems in America right now. They won't change until we legalize weed federally and take it away from that Schedule 1 bullshit, which Schedule 1 says it has no medical use whatsoever. And the only reason we got it legalized medically was that we proved that it worked on medical people. And so what they try to do when they turned it, say, oh, we're going to legalize recreational, all the government is saying is that we're going to treat it just like tobacco. We're going to treat it just like alcohol. And you got to be a certain age. And if you're not a certain age, and how dare you, blah, blah, blah. And it's all bullshit. And so we will slowly chip away at these laws, and we'll get them out. But on the brighter side, by the way, I spent 9 months in lockup, in prison. I had no worry about what I was going to eat, where I was going to sleep, what I was going to wear. When a lot of people now break the law, the reason the crimes are getting so horrendous is because the prisons won't accept people unless they are the dangerous kind on the planet, unless they committed the most dangerous crime there is. Because look what a prison gives you. It gives you boarding, it gives you food, and it gives you something to do. It gives you medical treatment. It gives you all of that stuff. And when you're homeless on the street, you get none of that stuff. You get none of it. And so these people are breaking laws to get into prison. And you're worried about getting them out of prison. And I got to tell you the truth. There's a lot of people that don't want to leave prison. They think, there are people that wake up every day and glad they're in prison because they're safe. They don't have to worry about it. There's a community in prison. They have sex partners in prison. They have everything they need in prison, plus the libraries, computers. They got everything. Yeah, they can get cruel if you break any prison laws. They can get pretty drastic because your ass is theirs. But for the most part, a lot of these crimes that are being committed now is because we closed the insane asylums. See, at one time we had hospitals for the criminally and the mentally ill. We had a place to put them, get them off the street, get them so they won't harm themselves or harm others. But now the answer, and it was Reagan, the Republicans' answer, is to hell with them. Just kick them out of the hospitals, put them on the street, and because we're not paying for that. And these are people, by the way, that hoard their money. These billionaires that made more money during the pandemic than they'd made when it was post-pandemic, they're making millions, and they hide their money. They hoard their money. They don't pay taxes, you see. And so we're looking at a society that depends on incarcerating their people so they can have slave labor, and so they can control their every movement and their every income. Because when they arrested me, they took over $100,000 cash that had nothing to do with the bong business. It was my personal cash that I made from selling T-shirts. But because They thought I was
Right.
part of the terrorist network that was funding, the terrorist networks across the. Oh, it's all bullshit. But here we are, and eventually we will have it legal for everybody. And by the way, when I get rich, which I'm going to do because we have hemp cigarettes that won't
Right.
kill you. They won't kill you. They won't hurt you, and you can buy them anywhere. And so that's going to make me wealthy. But when I get as wealthy as I can get, I'm going to create such a movie company, because I got influenced by watching the insurrection. I saw that everybody's a movie maker. Everybody has a camera. Everybody's got a iPhone. Everybody can make their own home movie. And
Right.
so what I want to do, I want to form a movie company, and I want to put these series on, not for a few months or days. I want to do a series that goes 20 years. 20 years. And I want to hire every marcher.
That's good.
I want to hire every person that marched from South America to America. Every march, I'm going to find out who they are, and I'm going to hire them as actors. And I'm going to bring them to America with their families, and I'm going to house them and take care of them as actors. And then as an actor, if you're young, you have to go to school. If you're sick, you have to be treated. If you're mentally ill, you have to be treated. If you have any problems, that has to be taken care of. We house, feed, and clothe you, much like a prison does. The only difference is that you're an actor and you're working for me in one form or another. Because with a movie company, there's always something for everybody. No one goes out of work. Because if you don't do anything, if all you is a live, warm body, then we'll get you with the extras. We will have you paid as an extra. So I have a plan. I'm not just smoking dope and making necklaces and making cigarette holders like this here. I am definitely planning on how to save the planet with art, and how to save the planet with a movie company, and give everybody a job and legal residence, and make. We have the ability to make Earth so fun, and that's it. That's what it is.
And
People,
universal, of course.
yeah, I've been asked, what is your solution? And I say, more amusement parks. That's what we need. We need more amusement parks, so people can have a place to go, a place to work, and a place to have fun. Because that's what amusement means, is to have fun. And so that's what we want to do while we're on Earth. See, because we have the ability now. We have robots can do everything, all the dirty work for us. See, all we have to do now, if we're smart enough, is to involve ourselves into art projects that take years, not just a few months, but take years, that you can learn how to become a filmmaker or an actor or a technician or a cameraman. You can learn a trade. And by the way, there's no better occupation in the world than movie making. And I say
Your
that.
experience, and you talk
Yeah.
from a huge experience. Now, you were one of the first to make these kinds of movies, and for that, I have a huge respect for you. But I just have to ask, when you were a user, or I don't know if you were using at that time recreational cannabis, but how did it involve during your creative process? Was it something that helped you along within your creative process? Because everything was just a hit.
Totally. No, it's totally cannabis. Cannabis connects you to your real self. Now, who is your real self? Well, we are eternal beings. See, we've always been here. in one form or another. And the reason we're here is to learn, you see. Our spirits are eternal. And when you think about it scientifically, the human body is made up of 90% water, okay? Scientists have proven that every drop of water that was here on Earth when Earth was created is still here. It's an eternal substance, water, in the physical world. Now, our spirits, we reside in the spiritual world as well as the physical world. This is our physical being. This is what we look like in the physical world. We need eyes to see, we need hands and feet to move, legs to move, because we're in a physical world. And we have a job in our physical world. We have a job. First of all, it's to populate the planet. That's our job. We got to keep the offspring coming. So that's why we have male and female, so we can have babies. Okay. Now, as we evolve both physically and spiritually. Now, we don't all know all the answers, which is why so many people on the planet right now refuse to get vaccinated, even though it would save their life. Because there are a lot of people on the planet that will die of COVID. And the reason they will die is because they refuse to get vaccinated. But that's your karma, because they're still, they too are eternal beings. They will be back again and again and again for eternity. And so what we have to do as intelligent beings, which we are, is to help those who ask for help, and to let those who don't ask for help learn the hard way, because it's up to them, you know. To me, you know, it's like when you get something from Amazon or for a toy or for your house, or a new computer or something, and you're putting it together. There's instructions that if you read and listen to them, you will have it all together within minutes.
Right.
But most of us refuse to read the instructions. And so we think we know everything, then we mess it up. And so maybe a day or two later, if we get some help, we might get the task done. A lot of times we don't get it done at all because we didn't read the instructions. Now, if we read the instructions, and this is the key here. There's been so many spiritual books written since the beginning of time, since the beginning of man's ability to communicate with the other man. You know, there's always been this search for our purpose. Why are we here? What are we? You know, why is this? Why is that? And we're here to learn. And as we learn, we evolve. And by the way, there's no end to how much we evolve to. Because if you read the spiritual books, especially the King James Bible, in the beginning, they say there was really no beginning. Earth, there's Alpha Omega. There's been no beginning and no ending. We've always been here. Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. And, you know, we were talking, I think, to a buddy of yours, which is Kevin Smith. And we find it interesting when we come back to people who have started with cannabis as recreational users, then turned into comedy and filmmaking. And now it seems like the road to go is creating cannabis products. So how did you come about that? How did you form your company? We want to know a little bit more about your company. I think our readers would be very interested.
Oh, easy. Because of my reputation and my activism and my podcast, and you know, and the fact that Up in Smoke really opened the doors for everybody. It opened the doors for the Latinos, for the Chicanos. It opened the doors for guys like me, half Chinese, you know. It opened the doors for Black people. It just opened so many doors, and for the police too, because we actually freed the cops. The cops, we got big fans. Police, you know, thank God, because Cheech would have been in jail a few times in Malibu, coming home from a party, drunk, bathing suit, no driver's license, speeding, throwing a joint out the window, having it explode in front of a cop, being pulled over by the cops, and then, oh, finally it's Cheech. Oh, go on, get out of here. So we've had, you know, and same as me, you know, there've been many times I've been, you know, hey, what's this? Another day in Winnipeg? I don't know. And it was, but as we're going now, we're in a good space. Let's put it that way, and with our products especially, because that is like the thank you from, because what we need in this on this earth now is we need jobs that everybody wants to do. That's what kills me when people talk about the coal mining jobs. Nobody, I haven't met anybody yet that said, man, I can't wait to get back on my coal mining job. You know, it's so much fun breathing in black coal dust and being in a dark mine, you know, where there's no sunlight, in the middle of earth, digging for something that we're just going to burn and pollute the world with. So we're evolving. We get out of that, and as we do, we like I said, we have more leisure time. We need to and there again, it's almost like you don't have to read anymore. You just watch, you know, just watch TV. So we're, I'm so glad to be in the space that we're at right now.
Yeah, and I mean, as you said, that, you know, precisely like you want people, or everyone should be in a job where they actually enjoy it, and of course you are, you know, a part of this industry that is trying to help that. Do you have any concrete plans for 2022 within the industry? I mean, what do you see? Do you have any concrete plans for the industry for 2022?
Oh yeah, we're going to save the world with hemp. Like I said, the movie company that I'm forming, I want to form, will help. Attitudes changing. You know what I see? I see so many great opportunities on the horizon. You know, it's like they're being planted. You know, I think the educational system has learned a lot from this lockdown. You know, the people saying kids need to be in school. Do they? Do they really? They're learning more at home. If you, it's when I got trouble with my phone, I don't, you know, ask Cheech. I'll ask my kid. Hey, how do I do this? You know, she's not even 2, and she knows how to work my Amazon watch better than I do. She was playing it just a little while ago, and she knows how to touch it, and she touches the end, and then she touch another thing, and the things come up, and the music. This is the new generation. They're not going to know about wars. They're not going to know about. They might know it because they might have to be involved with it somehow. But there's going to be no more wars where people get shot themselves. Like the cops now, you know, that are being shot. They don't need to be shot anymore. You know, when you hear someone with a gun, send in a robot. You know, send in a robot and the guy can talk into the microphone and do whatever he has to do. You know, you don't have to take your life into your own hands anymore. And that's why the kids, you know, with the gun control, you know, they're going marching around and they want to, you know, do something about the gun control. I got an answer for the gun control too, but I don't want to say it now. But it has to do with insurance. You see, America. It's amazing. You know, we've had all the disasters caused by climate change. And by the way, think about it. All our problems are caused by people that made marijuana illegal. All our problems right today are caused by those people who made the marijuana a racist law, because that set off this whole hate thing. Like what Trump found out is that negative publicity will make you a lot of money. It may not get you elected, but it will have people, you know, donate to your cause. Now, I'm not worried about the other side, because evil will destroy itself. You know, you let it, it can't help it. The goodness that's coming, it's already here, by the way. It's coming. We don't know it. You know, the people that are healthy, that don't have COVID, and even the people that have COVID, right now, we've developed some habits that will last us rest of our lives, and probably the rest of our kids' lives too. You know, because now we know how to stay healthy. It's very simple. Just stay
Well,
away
the
from
new
it.
generation is always something that we keep in mind every time. Now, we would like to see if you have any message for our readers, you that have devoted your whole life to cannabis and entertainment, and now that are entering the industry with brand new products that we are very excited to see. Do you have any message for our readers who are just starting in the industry, who are looking to have some guidance into what road they should take? Do you have any message for them?
Read the instructions. When you take something apart, read the instructions. Google whatever you're looking for. When people ask me, should I do this? Should I do that? I said, well, you have to do your own research. I don't know what's happening to you. You asked me a while back about how cannabis and my sickness, how it helped my sickness. What cannabis does, it puts you in a very brilliant state of mind. And so whatever you focus on, the answers will come like so fast that you don't have time to almost write them down. And that is because you've cleaned. You see, the reason we have a sweat lodge in prison was that the natives, that was their church. Now, a church is where you commune with God. It's and how you commune with God is up to the religion that you believe in. Well, the sweat lodge, the reason the sweat lodge is so close to God, the purpose of the sweat lodge itself was to raise your body temperature so hot that it's like a fever. Whatever is ailing you will disappear. And the problem you have, say you're going into battle, or you want to decide, you want to have a clear head, and so what you don't need, say if you're going into battle to fight to the death, you don't need your ego in the way. So the sweat lodge, and the ego is really a false sense of who you think you have to be in order to be around whoever you are around, whoever you hang with. That's the ego. It's a false sense. It's a lie. And so when the natives would go to war, the indigenous, the Sioux or the Cheyenne or whatever, or the Navajo, they would, the Navajo were the only native tribe that was undefeated. during the Spanish occupation and the whole taking over the natives. The Navajo never were conquered. And the American government had to give them their reservations and had to, because they were so badass. They were the ones with the sweat lodge, you see. And so when you went into the sweat lodge, it's so hot that nothing survives, especially nothing phony survives, you know. Everything is real. And when it gets to the boiling point where you literally can't stay in there anymore, you get up and leave, you know. Well, I've done it. I've got up and left, and then other times I've stayed to the whole thing because I got used to it. But what it does, it eliminates the bullshit in your life. And so that when the native sweats before he goes to war, now he goes there without any ego, and he goes there healthy, by the way. Because when the natives, that's why the natives, they got sick, they had colds, they had the flu, they got all that elements you get, but they would put their ass in a sweat lodge. There's no doctors, there's no medicine, so they put them in a sweat lodge and you sweat it, all the toxins and all that out of your body. That's why people sweat, and that's why we did it in prison, and that because it'll give you a clear head, and the clear head will take you wherever you want to go, because the trick of our life, this is very important to everybody, is our connection with God. Now, the reason the Jews were so important in that area, and so hated, by the way, by the jealous, their opponents. They were just hated because the Jews were the first to discover there is only one God, the monolith. You know, up until Judaism, everything, you had different gods. The Romans had Baal, they had the ball of fire, gods of fire, gods of war, gods of this, gods of that, planting gods. They had all sorts of gods, and they would pray and give sacrifice to each different one. Well, the Jews found out that, first of all, you don't have to give any sacrifice except your honesty. That's the only sacrifice you have to give. And to this day, what I'm trying to talk people into is acknowledging that you are not only eternally an eternal being, but you are an eternal being with a direct line or app, if you want to call it, to God. And all a God is right now, and I want everybody to think about this, God is only a thought away from you. Just a thought. Just a thought.
It comes within us.
That's beautiful.
It's a thought. And if you keep your thoughts, if you keep your thought on God, not you don't have to be yelling his name or doing the Hare Krishna dance or any of that stuff. Just in your mind, if you go to God first, if something comes up, a question, go to God first. I'll say, okay, God, what do I say? Okay, God, like what I do all the time. I'll say, okay, God, where's my phone? And within seconds, I find my phone. Sometimes I'm talking into it, but still, it works. So what you do is realize that each and every one of us has a God app that is only one thought away. If you can do that, then it's like having a computer or a calculator. How much is 2 and 2? You put down 2 and 2 and boom, there's your answer. Same thing as having a God app. When you say, God, what should I do? Right away, you're going to get an answer. And are you going to? No, all you have to have is faith. It's faith. Now, if you don't have faith, then nothing works. then you're not connected. The way you connect to God is with your faith. And you know in your heart, yes, there is a God. I know it. There is, because He answers my prayers. He tells me where to go. He or she is, you know, God is both female and male, and 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 that is the secret of our life. That God gets everybody, every artist, anybody, good and bad, by the way. And I'll leave you with this one more thing. If unless you have, do you have any more questions?
Not at the moment. We're just happy listening to you.
Okay, well, I want to tell you I want to tell you the most important thing about it. Like I say, everybody's here for a reason. And when you contact me, that is there. That's a good example of it. You know, why do you want to talk to Tommy Chong? I'll tell you why. Because to hear exactly what I'm saying, you know, to be taken down that path. Now, I will take everybody. That's what I did in prison. You know, I would have I Ching readings for everybody. If you get a chance, you should do the I Ching. It's
That's
no,
I Ching and the secret code, right?
yeah, I Ching. I Ching is a book. Emmett Fox is another book that you could get, and he explains all the spiritual truth that will do it, and it'll give you great comfort too. That's where I found because I lost my brother, but 2 years ago now. Yeah, we've been in lockdown 2 years, so it was about 2 years ago. No, he was older than me, but he's still my brother. I grew up with him, and next thing I know, he's in the hospital and he's dying, literally. He didn't look like he was dying, you know. He still looked younger than I did, and he's 3 years older than me, and but he was leaving, and I was trying to cope with it, but I was getting all these weird feelings inside, and like instinctively, I knew that he was getting ready to leave, and so when he did leave, I got a call from his son, and he said, Dad left, and I felt this wave of sadness come over me, because it was like when they go, they're gone. They're gone. They're not coming back. Not as what he was, you know. And so I think it was later. Oh, later in that flight. Oh shit.
We have you back.
Good.
We can see you.
Good.
And hear you.
I got a low power, but as I was riding the plane, I felt this warmth come into my chest, into my heart. It was a message, and I knew it was about my brother. And the message, the message was really is that I'm happy, and that was the message. And so now with me, and I'm getting close. You know, I'm 83, and I figure if I got 10 years, I mean that would be a blessing. You know, I could go anytime. Although I'm healthy, and I don't think I'll
go home forever for all of our sakes, in our hearts at least.
No, I'm not going to go. But I'll tell you one thing. It doesn't matter, because I was shown. You know, when I got incarcerated, I was taken to the mountaintop. You know, and I was told, you know, keep doing what you're doing, help when you can, and enjoy your senior years. The other day, it's funny. I was at a event yesterday in Vegas at tobacco thing, and it's mostly bongs. It's funny, they call it a tobacco show, but it's all with marijuana. It's all about marijuana. And you see, it's how the government's a little behind times, but they'll catch up. But I'm there with the hemp people and everybody. And one guy, he said, "Damn, you got old." And I
That's
cracked
a
up
nice
at him.
thing to say.
No, but it's the first response. There is no shame in getting old. None whatsoever. Getting old is nature's telling you to sit down, shut the fuck up, and just relax and enjoy your life. You know, yeah, no one listens to you, but enjoy that.
We
Enjoy.
enjoy listening to you. It's been a pleasure having you here with us. And a
Oh,
dream of mine come true, just getting to meet you, even if it is through a screen. I've watched you since I was, I guess, little, you could say.
sure.
But it's just heartwarming just to see your face and talk to you. I mean, this is something I never believed would happen to me.
But there
Leo.
you go.
Say it.
There you go. There you go. You see how it works? See how it
Yeah,
works?
we love you. We love you.
Yeah. I
We
mean,
love you.
it works so well. And like when I get questioned, you know, and I don't get, because I won't argue with anybody. You know, when they want to say, "Oh, I don't believe in God," I'll say, "Okay, fine. You know, see you later." You know, because they're not ready. You know, because actually, when you become enlightened, it becomes really who do you tell? You know, only see. I've got one rule: ask and I will answer. If you want to know something, you'll ask me. I will give you an honest answer. You know, because I got no other incentive other than to try to tell the truth. See, there's another powerful thing. How, like they say, you know, the truth will set you free. And when someone asked me about comedy, and I said, well, comedy really is the truth made funny. That's all. You know, it could be a disaster, but if you make a joke out of it, it becomes funny. You know, like I had a friend of mine, he passed away, but before he did, he worked for me, and I had a house in Bel Air, and I had hippies work on remodeling the house, and the hippies left a big bag of marijuana seeds as they left. Frank, my gardener at the time, he's found the seeds, and he's an Italian gardener, so he planted 40 plants in my backyard. Where it was on the side of a hill on a mountain, and it had a natural stream. And when I got home, I had 40 15-foot plants on my property in 80, it had to be 81, 82, on my property. And luckily, I knew a lawyer that was connected, so I sold most of the crop, and I gave a lot of it away to the musicians I had. But but when Frank died, you know, everybody's all sad. And then I went to the church, and then I went up to talk about Frank, and I told the story about his 40 plants. Of course, I did it in a very comedic manner, you know, and I had that church rocking and rolling, laughing their ass off. And it was such a joyful way to say goodbye to Frank, and not say goodbye really, well, say goodbye to this part, you know, because he was sick. He had inoperable cancer, and it was a blessing for him to go. But it's a truth. If you deal with truth, it can be harsh, but it can be so rewarding. And that's what we're finding out. You know, I had to go through the you know, incarceration and the you know, and not being allowed on television, because Cheech and I were banned off television. If you notice, we've never been on Saturday Night Live hosting or anything.
Right. But then you
And
made a huge comeback with that 70 show.
yeah, well, the '70s show was different. They definitely wanted my character, and that's the way it was. You know, a lot of people won't want you, but you only need one that does. You know, and that's always been my motive. Any more questions?
No,
No,
it's
Mr.
been really a
Chong.
pleasure having you. We've enjoyed it very much. Again,
Been
it's
an
been an
honor.
honor to me, and thank you for your time. I
Well,
guess our readers will be enjoying it very much.
anytime you want a Tommy Chong pep talk,
No, we love
or
that.
We
spiritual, whenever you want, whenever you need it, I'll be available for you,
I
because I
just
have.
have one really quick small question, and this
Sure.
is just out of my fandom. Did it run on water, man? Did it actually run on water?
Which one?
Remember that joke? It runs on water, man. Did it run on water?
I
I mean, I've
don't
wondered
know,
that my
man.
whole life.
I can't remember. No. I don't think it did anything, but that is funny.
I'm
thank
sorry,
Oh
I
you.
had to
man,
do that just for the fangirl in me. Thank you
I
very much
love
for
it.
your time. Have a wonderful evening. We'll be sending
Love
you the
you
email
guys.
with the
I
Yes,
love
video
you
very
guys.
soon.
It
we
was truly wonderful experience.
we will be
Okay.
contacting you and your team to send you over the edition. And of course, if you have any time during the week, or this edition is going to be coming the upcoming months, so we still have some time, but we will contact you when we're closer to our publication date with all of the details. And
Sure.
we might ask you for like a short video where you introduce
Absolutely.
the next edition. But again, thank you for being so kind and for giving us your time. And it's been an honor, and it's been beautiful. Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
pretty lady.